A previous book. Many book enthusiasts say that they are still a bit unsatisfied. Thinking that since I have been idle lately, I will write a little. Don't come scold me. Just don't click in if you don't like it. Be good. Keywords of the novel. After divorce, my ex-wife becomes a debt owner. Season 2. No pop-ups. After divorce, my ex-wife becomes a debt owner. Season 2 complete TXT collection download. After divorce, my ex-wife becomes a debt owner. Season 2 latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. Amnesia. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Amnesia. PS, important notice, the second season is not a new book, not a new book, not a new book. The story has not changed, but it cannot be continued after the first season. The same story is not a new starting point. The introduction and reasons for memory loss are in Kun. In the city center of Chongqing, in an era where internet cafes are extremely difficult to survive, a 4-story internet cafe is located in the best position in the city center, and the rent is in 7 figures per year. The interior decoration of the internet cafe is dilapidated, and occasionally a few customers just come here to borrow the restroom. Although the internet cafe is dilapidated, people in Chongqing City know that the owner who invested a lot of money into the cafe 6 months ago is a unique person. In the eyes of young people in their 20s, she is a tall and cold sister in her early 30s. In the eyes of 30-year-olds, she is a young woman with a heart of 40. In the eyes of a man over 40, she is a gentle and beautiful little girl. The landlady was wearing a cotton qipao, holding a cigarette bag and tilting her head to look at the young people busy moving forward and backward in the internet cafe, softly shouting, "Xiao Qian. Just pack up and there won't be anyone coming anyway. I made an appointment with a psychologist for you this afternoon, don't forget to go." The man, known as Xiao Qian, straightened up and turned his head to scratch his head at the boss's wife with a silly smile. He raised his right arm and wrist, embroidered with 2 dragons and snakes. The dragons and snakes coiled around until they reached the earlobe of his right ear. Upon closer inspection, Xiao Qian's right arm and the skin under the neck tattoo seemed to have been severely burned. Xiao Qian scratched his head and smiled. "Auntie, it costs over 800 yuan to go once. Our internet cafe doesn't have much income, so if you can't remember it, you can't remember it, and it won't delay anything." Auntie squinted at Qian Qian and hooked her finger. "Come on, Auntie, I don't care about you. Don't. I'll take the medicine and see the doctor." Qian Qian ran away, and the landlady sighed weakly as she watched the fleeing figure. "Why haven't you forgotten what you should have forgotten after your brain is broken? Why is this cleanliness obsession still there?" During the conversation, the phone rang, and the landlady answered the call with a faint tone. "I don't have any news about Han Qian right now. If there's any clue, I'll let you know." Hanging up the phone, an old man who alternated night shifts with Qian Qian appeared behind the landlady and said in a low voice, "Miss, leave him here now. We're also in a lot of trouble, why don't we send him directly back to the seaside? This way, the seaside will owe us a big favor." The landlady shook her head with a smile and said with a bitter smile, "His enemies have 4, and the remaining 2 have even more terrifying identities. Now he is a fool who remembers nothing. After sending him back, who will protect him? Now everyone knows he's not dead, he's missing, and the intimidation is still there. No one knows when he will return as a king, but if a fool goes back, there will still be people afraid. So your department store was sold like this. I can't hold on anymore, just sell it and make an investment. What if I don't lose money? I feel like this kind of life is also good. When he comes back tonight, you can talk to him and ask if you have any ideas about this internet cafe. No one has been here lately to cause trouble." The old man lowered his head and whispered in a low voice, "How many little dogs seem to be sniffing your scent? I'll go solve it." The landlady turned her head and her eyes became very bright, with a hint of excitement in them. "I'll go. Qian Qian rode a bicycle to the hospital with all the components ringing except for the bell. When he saw the bicycle, he knew it was not working, and those who didn't thought the new version of the thug had appeared. This thing has a much louder sound than a stereo. Before, when Chongqing City was founded, Qian Qian was stopped by traffic police. After more than an hour of arguments, the traffic police uncle gave Qian Qian 20 large steel coins to take the bus and persisted for a few days. This bicycle is too broken. Qian Qian rode his bike to the hospital and climbed the stairs with ease. Qian Qian doesn't know why he particularly rejects places like hospitals, but he always feels very familiar with them. A strange idea came to mind. Is it difficult for me to be a doctor before losing memory? The more I think about it, the more I feel that these injuries on my body were cut by the patient's family. Before losing memory, I was definitely a quack doctor. Pushing open the door of the doctor's office on the 4th floor, the doctor saw Qian Qianlu's smiling face as he walked in and said with a smile, "Sit down." Qian Qian stared at the doctor with a skeptical expression and said seriously, "Don't make me laugh like a profiteer as soon as I come, it will make me doubt my profession. I'll tell you secretly, I remember. I might have been a doctor before, and we're colleagues. Come on. I'll give you a pulse." Qian Qian's mind is full of thoughts on how to earn back the money from medical treatment. Aunt spent a lot of money on treating her illness. During the conversation, Qian Qian grabbed the psychologist's arm. Just as the doctor was about to take it back, Qian Qian grabbed the ballpoint pen on the table and aimed it at the doctor's wrist, saying coldly, "I said let me give you a pulse number. If you dare to move, I'll puncture your arm now. I'm mentally ill." The psychologist looked at the young man in front of him with a helpless expression and said helplessly, "Your mental illness is caused by damage to your brain tissue. Why does it always cause trouble every time you come? Qian Qian, are you 28 years old?" Qian Qian sat weakly on the chair, lamenting. "I just want to make some money from you, why is it so difficult? Don't ask me how old I am. My aunt says I am as old as I am. Tell me, what's going on with my head? Memories should only appear on TV or in novels, right?" The doctor stood up with a smile and closed the door. He took out a test report and handed it to Qian Qian, frowning. "Xiao Qian, we've been dealing for almost half a year now. I'm sorry to make money from you, but it's a hospital policy and I can't do anything about it. Here's a test report for your brain. You should have been injected with a mixture of Qinghuan snake venom before the car accident. Don't get excited yet. I've asked some people about this snake venom, which can deadly damage important organs. It should also be mixed with other drugs that dilute the toxicity." "You can't remember any enemies before?" Qian Qian frowned and raised his head for a long time, shaking it dumbly. "I don't remember." The doctor nodded and said again. "Qian Qian, do you know you should have many injuries on your body? You have 2 gunshot wounds on your shoulder, don't you remember?" "I don't remember, I think I was killed by a patient's family while working as a quack doctor. I don't remember at all. Do you have any beloved ones?" "Not yet. Don't ask me. If I remember, I came to see you for medical treatment. Do you have a daughter?" The doctor's face changed and he asked with a hint of excitement in his eyes. "Do you remember you had a daughter?" Qian Qian shook his head seriously. "No, what I mean is that I'm going to hook up with your daughter. Can you treat me for free?" 10 minutes later, Qian Qian was kicked out, and the money given by his aunt in his hand was not spent at all, with a smile on his face. Whistling downstairs. Qian Qian doesn't seem to be in a hurry about his amnesia, but no one can guess his inner thoughts. Am I being injected with snake venom, causing a signal? I reached out and touched the black tattoo on my neck, wrinkled skin, and whistled to the little nurse. The front desk nurse was not angry, but slightly blushed and lowered her head. Riding his bicycle at full speed on the road, Qian Qian kept his mouth tightly closed. He didn't know why he was worried about being stung by bees on his tongue. It seemed like he didn't have this experience, but he was just worried, just afraid. At this moment, Qian's mind was constantly searching for half a year's memory. Car accident. Can we find the cause of our memory loss by identifying this car accident? Warm you up, take it slow. Qian's body trembled and suddenly turned his head, looking at a couple passing by. His eyes were confused as he looked at a pair of young couples walking away and playing around. When he regained his senses, Qian reached out and touched his face. Touch the moisture on your face. Qian's eyes were full of confusion. Who is Warmth? P.S. Number V pulls you into the group, hi 882224, treasures. You can add my V to the V group hi 882224, end of this chapter. Chapter 2. The brain is not bad. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. The brain is not bad. On the 4th floor of the internet cafe, there is an empty hall. In front of Qian was a blackboard with several key information written on it. Car accident, snake venom, amnesia, warmth. There have been many car accidents within 6 months, but Qian feels that these accidents have nothing to do with him. About half a year ago, there was a major car accident in the city of Fushan, Fengtian. Yang Yidi also had a car accident, but specific information cannot be found. Pinching his chin, he looked at the blackboard and reached out to touch the scar on his shoulder. Qian's brain was in disarray. He felt that these keywords couldn't be integrated at all. Harmful. Qian sighed helplessly, and everyone thought he was not in a hurry to retrieve his memories, but no one knew he was more anxious than anyone else, especially after realizing that he had suffered from amnesia. Knock, knock. Xiao Qian, I'm coming in. Qian turned his head and looked at the old man walking into the door, then took a step back and smiled. Grandpa Yan. Yan Lao smiled and waved his hand. When he looked up and saw the words, warm, on the blackboard, his face changed and he frowned. Warmth. Qian smiled and nodded. Well, when I went out today, I saw 2 little couples. The little girl's name was Warmth, and I felt her name sounded very comfortable, so I wrote it down. Mr. Yan said softly with a hint of disappointment in his eyes. Okay. Xiao Qian, I have something to talk to you about. Our internet cafe has been open for half a year and has been in a loss-making state. It's all our own business. You're young, can you think of a way? Nowadays, young people call this thing planning. Planning. Qian tilted his head and looked at Grandpa Yan, then pointed to his nose and asked. Planning. Do you want me to plan? Do I have a planning brain? Do I understand? Yan Lao looked up and down at Qian, frowning and saying. Qian, do you still remember that you are very resistant to beating? Sorry, I'm just going to think about planning. I'll give it to you tomorrow morning. Qian ran away. Mr. Yan looked at Xiao Qian, who had escaped, and smiled helplessly. He still looked the same after losing his memory. There hasn't been any change at all, it's still the same personality and appearance as before. He is more talkative than anyone else and moves more quickly. Returning downstairs, Mr. Yan quickly closed the rolling shutter door, but there weren't many customers anyway. Late at night, my aunt, dressed in a cotton cheapao, came back with light steps and hummed a little tune, but the watermelon knife in her hand seemed a bit mismatched with her. Open the rolling shutter door and throw the watermelon knife to old Yan, clapping his hands and whispering softly. A few small fish. Yan Lao wiped the watermelon knife and whispered in a low voice. He seems to be very sensitive to the word warmth. Today, he went out all day and received 4 pieces of news. Car accident, snake venom, amnesia, and warmth. I handed him the internet cafe and wanted to try whether his current brain is just amnesia or broken. Auntie nodded. That's okay, after all, he started as a planner. Do you feel like he's pretending to be foolish? Mr. Yen nodded earnestly. Yes, he doesn't believe anyone now, including you and me. He never asks you or me about his past. Auntie pouted and said. This little bastard is very cunning. When he knew he was going to finish playing, he calculated for 10 years that everyone in the coastal area would be together. He used his son as a tool to watch Lu Xing's song, and his daughter went to the capital to pull the ancient line. His amnesia is not dead. When did he say he will give you the result? Tomorrow morning. Still that proud little bastard. He never leaves himself a way out. The old man Yen muttered softly beside him, if we leave a way out, it won't be Han Qian anymore. Early in the morning, Qian got up to wash up and looked at the tattoo in the mirror. This tattoo was requested by him, and he always felt like he had promised someone to get it, but he also thought it might be in his dream. Wash up carefully, walk downstairs and open the rolling shutter door. When I turned around, my aunt had already come downstairs. Qian grinned, and my aunt lit a cigarette and sat at the bar, knocking on the table. Yesterday, Grandpa Yen asked you to do a plan. Do you understand this? Qian picked up the teapot and poured a cup of hot tea. He turned his head and looked at the snow outside the door. As soon as he picked up the broom, his aunt spoke again. After speaking, go ahead. It's not urgent for a while. Qian put down the broom and scratched his head with a silly smile. Actually, I don't really understand planning either. Auntie, do you have any taboos about the matter of borderline ball? My aunt has run a brothel before. Ah. Qian felt like his head had been hit hard again, and then Gu continued. They are all small stars from the 18th tier, not worth mentioning. The head was hit hard again. Qian lowered his head and whispered. Auntie, I'm not very familiar with planning either. Since you don't reject borderline games, what I mean is to renovate our internet cafe. Nowadays, some LOL games are very popular, and the competition heat is also high every year. In addition, there are other games that have World Cups. Taverns will organize World Cups, European Cups, and sports venues will also play NBA or other leagues. My idea is to make our internet cafe a dedicated place to watch games. Auntie picked up the teacup and asked softly. Revenue. Qian raised his head and said with a silly smile. The first floor does not generate any revenue, but is specifically designed to attract crowds. It can be used as a rest area or directly changed to an esports competition mode. The competition will be held on time, and young people will play games. Even if the prize money is only 5,000, there will be people participating. If we encounter a special bounty hunter, we can also sign it for us to promote. Auntie pointed upstairs, and Qian continued. I want to bring in another water bar and make the main entrance bigger. The water bar can choose either T100, Honey Snow, or 700. It doesn't cost much for my own space, and the entire first floor is for drainage. The bathroom is a bit more upscale, and the second floor is for internet cafes and the third floor is for billiards. The profits from internet cafes and billiards are very small. But what if there are many girls in our internet cafes? Auntie squinted at Qian and smiled. I'm not good at learning. Qian shook his head vigorously. No, Aunt. I'm very obedient. I think wherever there are many girls, there is no shortage of people. The bar has accompaniment for drinking, and the singing hall has accompaniment for singing. Our internet cafe mainly focuses on accompaniment. The girls are of high quality, they play games well, and they look beautiful. They play games well, table tennis is first class, and we don't need to pay them a salary. Instead, we earn their money. We provide a place and draw 10% of their commission tips. As long as it is related to their interests, they will work hard to find customers. Moreover, we don't drink, and don't have to deal with uncles. Most of the people who come to the internet cafe are young men. Price. Spend 30 to 100 hours with the company, looking at their appearance, skills, and customer base. If you attract customers yourself, you won't receive a commission, but you will receive 10% of the commission for assigned orders. For individual customers on the second floor, it costs around 6 yuan per hour. For high-end design on the third floor, it costs 12 yuan per hour, providing snacks and drinks. If the company is a full-time or part-time waitress, we will give them a basic salary after drawing 10% to help customers buy water, which is also our own. The fourth floor. Sitting in the highest-end billiards hall in Qingcheng, oh. Is it expensive to add an elevator? Not expensive. Or do you want to play with me as you said? Qian nodded. Yes. What we are doing now is offline. After the popularity grows, we can find a bounty hunter to promote live streaming and play with online partners. The commission we will receive will be around 30 yuan, and we don't need to provide a computer. A mobile app or a voice channel is enough, without any cost. If we follow my plan, on average, one person will spend 100 yuan to find a partner. With so many game players across the country looking for game anchors to collaborate with, I think it's not a problem to receive 1,000 orders a day. This is a conservative idea. What's more, in this era, live short videos have become the mainstream. I think it should be possible to choose excellent sisters to go to the internet to promote and attract fans to promote. The last question is, although you didn't say it, I feel that you are not an ordinary person, and I also know that I should not be a fool before Amnesia. Auntie tilted her head and looked at Qian, frowning and asking. An idea for one night. Qian smiled and nodded. Yes. How much is the budget? 4 million. When he uttered these 3 words, Qian felt his eyes turn black and his body was on the verge of collapse. The aunt in the bar supported the counter with one hand, grabbed Qian's arm, frowned, and asked in a low voice. What's wrong? Where's the discomfort? Qian shook his head and lifted it to squeeze out a smiling face. I always feel a bit familiar with 4 million. Auntie, I went to sweep the snow. Go ahead, I'll give you the money this afternoon. I need to go and busy myself with some other things. You, the internet celebrity company. Forget it. I guess you don't remember what you said, so it's better not to know anything for now. My aunt really wants to tell Qian that he has a younger brother who is the owner of the largest internet celebrity company in northeast China. Unfortunately, he doesn't remember anything. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Tilting Libra. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Tilting Libra. Chapter 3. The northern weather in winter is dry and cold, and although we cannot start working and rest now, we can go to the designer to design drawings and workers to clean up the debris on this 4-story building. White paper and black letters are pasted on the door. Closed for renovation. Qian got on his bicycle and went out. His aunt stood on the 4th floor, watching Qian leave, whispering to the phone in her hand. What's the situation on your coastal side lately? Is it warm or the same as before? The voice on the phone was tired, and I sighed softly. After Han Qian went missing, Warmth locked himself up in his room for 2 days without eating or drinking. Afterwards, he worked as usual as if nothing had happened, but his words decreased and he didn't argue anymore. Auntie frowned and asked softly. What about others? It's like losing my soul, and I'm also like losing my soul. My enemy is not standing behind me, and I don't have as much courage. Many rumors say that my enemy. Whose phone? A warm voice suddenly came, and then the phone seemed to have been taken away, and the warm voice came out again. For Han Qian, when he gave me the last phone call, his mind had already gone wrong and he couldn't remember anyone. Even if we found him now, as someone who had forgotten everything, returning to Binhai is not to support us, but to cause trouble. Han Qian and I have lived the longest time. I understand him better than anyone else, and he will work hard to retrieve his memories while alive. If he dies, I will treat him as still alive. That's all, let Aunt Hong worry. The phone was hung up, and Aunt Qian Hong, who used to be the owner of a landmark department store in Haibin, now the owner of an internet cafe in Qingcheng, smiled helplessly. Half a year can really change a person. Or rather, the warmth has never changed. In the capital, a girl of about 27 or 8 years old, wearing a tight black suit and long hair hanging behind her head, declared herself a woman. Standing in front of her was the hottest group artist of the moment. Anin, the president of Jingqing Danfu Entertainment Company. At this moment, Anan looked coldly at the company artist in front of him and said coldly, "Recently, the commotion between you has been getting bigger and bigger. You like women to go find your agent, and they will arrange it for you. Sleep with fans. Borrow money from fans. I don't have time to wipe your butt now, I don't want to be hidden in snow, so I'll go clean up my own black material. And you girls, don't think you can argue with me just by holding on to the gold owner. Your gold owner is not even one in my eyes. Get out." One by one, the hot frontline idols lowered their heads and ran away from the office. As soon as everyone left, the office door was pushed open. A burly man with a scar on his face walked into the office, his eyes fixed on An's beautiful legs, and he smiled. "Mr. N is still so ethereal. I'm so mesmerized." Anan looked at the man coldly and said coldly, "Chen Chang, back then my man didn't peel off your face because you had too thick skin. Now that your father has returned to his original position, do you have the courage to step forward again?" Chen Chang walked up and sat on the sofa, lit a cigarette and laughed heartily. "I really want to thank Han Qian. Anan. I guess you know the agreement between my master and Lao Gu better than anyone else. Now that Han Qian is lost, we cannot go to the seaside, and people from the seaside cannot come to the capital. But it doesn't mean that I can't touch you Anan. Han Qian is dead. Lu Xingge has returned to the capital, and he will give you all the cakes from the Lu group. Don't imagine that Han Qian can come back. Even if you follow me, although we can't make it to the front, it's not that even the third and fourth cannot be considered." Anan hugged and sneered. "Thank you for Mr. Chen's flattery. Whether my man can come back or not doesn't matter what you say, but what I think and do doesn't matter what you say. What if I like this office to see you off?" At this moment, frontline artist Gu Yen walked into the office and whispered softly, "Mr. N, it's time to go. The plane ticket for 2 p.m. in the afternoon." Anan picked up his phone and strode out of the office in a pair of high heels. Chen Chang stood up and followed closely, sneering beside Anan. "Anan, you don't need to be so aloof. Han Qian won't be able to come back. Although I can't intervene in Binhai, the four of them are putting pressure on Binhai at the same time. How long do you think they can hold on? Lu Xingge is not in Binhai anymore. You can climb onto my bed tonight and I can consider taking some warmth. I don't mind if she has given birth." Pop. A crisp slap fell on Chen Chang's face, and Anan angrily said in a cold voice, "Dare you touch a warm strand of hair? Even if I sell it, I will find a way to turn you into a eunuch. Get lost." Chen Chang covered his face and grabbed An's neck, angrily saying, "Damn you, dare you hit me?" Speaking, two voices came through. "Yo! Xiaowu, look, isn't this Mr. Chen?" "Yes, yes. How dare Mr. Chen come out now?" "Xiaowu, what you're saying is that my brother.in.law is out playing now, so he dares to come out and dance. Chen Gongzi continues, and I'll just watch and never do anything. Right, we absolutely won't fight. After all, the entire capital knows that my Lu Xing dance and Luo Fu's mouth are no different from those of that horse's skin, and their main focus is on being someone who doesn't keep his word. Lu Xingguo, the second son of the Lu group. Luo Fu, the waste young master of the Luotian group. The two dandies who caused the most trouble and spent the most money in the capital city in half a year alone threw 9 million yuan in bars last month. It's just playing, it's money, it's a loser. Chen Chang stared at the two people standing hunched over at the door, then let go of an An's neck and sneered. What's going on? Both Luo Shen and Lu Xingge are in the capital, giving you two trash some confidence. I'm going to sleep with him today, can you both stop me? Luo Fu put down his arm and a swing stick appeared in his hand, grinning. I'm hitting you now, your dad can't run so fast even if he's a dog, can he? Lu Xingguo snapped her fingers at Anan. Go. Play. Anan ran away from the company all the way until they drove away. Only then did they leave Anan's company. After leaving the door, Lu Xingguo patted her chest and whispered. Damn it. Who would have thought that Chen Zhan suddenly returned to his original position? What's going on with Gouda? Luofu lowered his head and whispered in a low voice. I'm going to retire. Lu Family Manor, the eldest son of the Lu family, and the chairman of the Lu group, Lu Xingge, crossed his legs and watched a 4 or 5-year-old child and a black man about 2 meters tall in the distance engage in physical altercations. It's unbearable. Sitting opposite Lu Xingge was a man about 60 years old, with graying hair. Looking at the child being beaten in the distance, the old man frowned. Revenge. A voice that is not angry is self-righteous. Lu Xingge smiled slightly. My son, I feel more heartbroken than anyone else. A flower that has not experienced wind and rain is only suitable for living in a greenhouse. What is your situation? The old man frowned and sighed. I'm getting older. The person above me passed away last year and changed to someone who doesn't deal with me. It doesn't have much impact on me. Lu Xingge turned her head and frowned, saying. But Chen Zhangguan has returned to his original position. It is a disaster of destruction for Binhai, how many years can you persist? The old man extended a finger. A year. I will change to a relaxed position, but Chen Zhan can still hold it down. As for the rest. Hanging. On the other side of the sea, carrying the big flag is warmth, really just looking like this. Lu Xingge stood up and stretched lazily, laughing. Without Han Qian, Binhai is dull. Except for Yi Ji, I don't even bother to take a look at the rest of the stinky fish and rotten shrimp. Good ad, persist and let's see how brilliant Binhai is after that crazy dog returns. Lao Gu looked up at Lu Xingge and squinted as he said. So you let your younger brother and Luo Shen's younger brother be playboys. Don't be so stubborn, young man. It's not embarrassing to speak out when your heart is soft. Lu Xingge nodded earnestly. It makes sense. Then he spoke up and shouted. Son, go get a gun for you. Aunt Yen Ran collapsed. Damn it, why did you take so much action? End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Disguised Phoenix. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Disguised Phoenix. Chapter 4. The internet cafe has started renovating, but fortunately, there are fewer people renovating during this season, and the workers are not expensive. They are not willing to hire any designers, and all the drawings are designed by individual designers from the building materials side. Make do with it. Mr. Yen is staring at the decoration here, while Qian goes to the mall to choose building materials. As for my aunt who has already flown away, she can't bear the tinkling noise. Qian stood at the entrance of Honor Furniture Plaza, which has become a well-known architectural mall in the north. The words, Honor Home Plaza, can be seen in many cities. The things inside are not cheap. Qian murmured softly. I don't know which unlucky child came up with such a thing, it's so expensive. It's hard for you to make money from ordinary people. As soon as he entered the mall, Qian saw an oversized wax statue placed at the main entrance. With long green hair and a delicate face, there is a small sign standing in front of me that introduces the information of this wax statue. Wu Qingxi, the spokesperson for the Image of Honor Furniture Plaza on January 1st, New Year's Day, I will be with you forever. Qian Qianyi is not very interested in artists like this. He hardly watches TV, but he has to admit that Wu Qingxi is really as beautiful as you. Walking into any family store wearing a tattered military coat is ignored and treated as a construction worker asking for prices. Qian Qian looked at the floor tiles in front of him, reached out to touch them, and then looked at the salesperson wearing a suit and uniform next to him, smiling. How much does this brick cost approximately? The salesperson looked up and down at Qian Qian with a disdainful expression, then rolled his eyes. 71 yuan, for the microcrystalline series. Qian Qian's eye pondered for a moment before asking. About 1200 square meters, what is the lowest price you can offer? The salesperson's face changed after speaking, and she smiled coquettishly like a flower. Brother, how do you like this one? At first glance, you look like a person with temperament. These microcrystalline stones are also priced at 70, but if you can order today, I will definitely give you a discount. How much is the discount? 45. If it's 35, I'll pay the deposit now and have your designer measure a set of water knife cut puzzle pieces for me. Alright, brother, I'll go measure with you now. I'll give you the address, I won't go. Losing her memory doesn't mean she's a fool. She's just too lazy to argue about those things with her. After strolling around the mall all morning, Qian Qian, who pursues efficiency, ordered almost everything. When she returned to the internet cafe, there were more than 20 designers who came to measure the scale alone. Qian Qian made some requests for the designer to take note of them before running out to smoke. He had just lit a cigarette, but before he could take the first sip, the cigarette was taken away. Qian Qian looked up at the urban management officer standing next to him and rolled his eyes. If you don't smoke from me, we'll definitely be good friends. Chengguan Zhou Lu grinned at Qian Qian. Hey buddy, you only have 5,000 yuan a month. You're going to be an internet cafe owner now. What's wrong with smoking a cigarette? Don't deduct and search, where's our aunt? Zhou Lu can be considered the only loyal customer of this internet cafe, about the same age as Qian Qian. Over time, the two of them became familiar with each other. Occasionally, they would come over to help during night shifts, but they had to give away a bowl of instant noodles and a bottle of happy water. Zhou Lu is a person with no ambition, he is already very satisfied with his current life. Also considered as Qian Qian's only friend in Chongqing City. Qian Qian lit another cigarette and whispered in a low voice. I dislike the noisy decoration and say it's a distraction, as if I went to the seaside. Zhou Lu squatted beside Qian Qian and sighed as he looked at the sky. If you want to talk about Bin Hai, I have to mention a legendary man who is about our age and started from scratch to become the Prince of Bin Hai. Unfortunately. Qian Qian asked in confusion. What a pity. The person is lost. Some say he offended a big shot and was killed, some say he died in a car accident, and some say he went missing. To be honest, you two look quite similar in the photos, but he is 2 years older than you, without a tattoo or the scar on your eyes. Qian Qian looked at Zhou Lu with a disappointed expression and cursed with a smile. You don't want to earn a reward from me, do you? Zhou Lu looked at the sky and sighed. Unfortunately, you're not. If you were really the crown prince, I would have slapped my leaders in the face at that time. Damn it. 50-year-old women are always trying to sneak rules with me. You're not angry. Qian Qian nodded earnestly. Actually, you can give it a try. In case you get promoted and become rich, I don't need to be this little network administrator anymore. Today, when I went to Honor Home, I saw a wax statue of Wu Qingxi, which looks quite nice. Zhou Lu turned his head and looked at Qian Qian seriously. Do you like it? Do you want to see a real person? Qian remained silent as he gazed at the sky for a moment, then shook his head. The tickets are too expensive. Do you like Wu Qingxi? I also like Wu Qingxi. You wait. Zhou Lu ran away and took out his phone to make a call. After the call was answered, Zhou Lu chuckled. Miss Sun, can you see if you can get me a ticket for Wu Qingxi's concert or a work ticket for me? Can you get it? Ah. Okay, I don't have a car. Can you come pick me up tonight? Now. Zhou Lu went all out, gritting his teeth on something 50 not 50. Zhou Lu left with a tragic figure, wiping away tears. Qian crouched at the entrance of the internet cafe, muttering softly. Wu Qingxi, Wu Qingxi. Why isn't she called Little Radish Silk? 2 hours later, Zhou Lu returned. Looking at Zhou Li's pale and limp face as he walked, Qian frowned and ran forward to embrace his only friend, eagerly saying. What's going on? Zhou Lu trembled as he took out a contract from his arms and handed it to Qian, his face devoid of blood squeezing out a smile. The tickets in front cannot be bought by buddies, and the tickets in the back cannot be seen clearly. Here. The contract for the front security guard. Take a few more glances at Wu Qingxi for buddies. Qian suddenly had a bad premonition and looked at Zhou Lu incredulously, asking. You won't be from? Shut up. This kind of thing is rotten in my stomach. Don't let me know that my aunt is your own aunt. You pretend to be poor with me here. Qian smiled as he held the contract. When I get rich, I'll have Wu Qingxi pour you tea. Zhou Lu left, and before leaving, he told Qian that he couldn't despise himself if he wasn't a city manager. Qian looked at the security contract in his hand with a simple smile. It's not important to see Wu Qingxi, it feels really good to be remembered by friends. The serious crime area of Binhai prison is patrolled 24 hours a day with a firearm warning. Today, the warning has increased here, and everyone is ready for battle. Because the phoenix from the seaside has arrived. With that guy whose identity is still under suspicion. A warm man in a white suit sitting at a table in a prison in a serious crime area. Feng Luan looked at the cigarettes, wine, and dozens of photos of beautiful women on the table, looked up at the phoenix by the seaside, and smiled. You didn't bring your surname Su to see me, which is your clearest decision. If one day I go out, I'll be the first to kill him. Warm pointing at the photo on the table. Which one do you like? Or do you like all of them? I can have them come in tonight to serve you. Feng Luan pouted and shook his head. No need. There's no such thing as that. After Han Qian lost him, all the blame was on me. Because they all know that I don't just have this little secret about Binhai in my hands. You were also at the party that day, and you know there were many people from other government offices there. You're not stupid, so you can hold on and enjoy yourself until you meet Han Qian. I always thought you weren't stupid, and if you were stupid, you wouldn't give your marriage certificate to that girl who doesn't have any worries. Warmth opened a pack of delicate cigarettes, lit a cigarette, and opened his mouth with his eyes closed. That worry-free girl can provide me with absolute financial support for a man, and I have no reason to let go of this resource. My grandfather is a businessman, my father is a businessman, and I am also a businessman. There are many people targeting the seaside now, and the capital cannot intervene, but it will exert pressure. My sweet girl and I are blocking your documents. Don't you thank me? Feng Luan smiled and said. Warming you smoking is really ugly. There's no way, my man is missing. The child monster is reciting scriptures in the temple, blaming himself. Bo and Sun Yang are nowhere to be seen at home. If I don't stand up, the Han family will be empty. What do the people in Cloud City say? Warmth has truly changed, returning to the indifference and dominance that Han Qian never encountered before. Feng Luan looked at the slightly unfamiliar woman in front of him, then lifted his head to look at the guy standing behind the woman and pursed his lips. If Han Qian comes back, you will be the first to be beaten. The man remained silent, Feng Luan said again. Sun Mingyue from Shunqing City is a person who can navigate the wind and probably has already rebelled. Yu Zhen and his son have been humiliated by Han Qian, and their Yu family's business is not as good as yours, but their assets are not weaker than yours. It is estimated that the abortion of the monster should be related to the people in Cloud City, and you should not be able to move them now. Warmth crushed the cigarette, frowned and asked. If it were you, what would you do? Feng Luan smiled and said. Act as if you don't know anything, act as if nothing happened. It's the best decision for Han Qian to keep this guy by his side without bringing him along. Now that Han Qian is not here, who will touch you? He will kill who? Warmth, why don't you really go find Han Qian? Shake your head warmly. Don't look. When he called me, he had already lost his memory. Finding a fool would probably deter him for half a year. If he doesn't come back now, no one knows what his situation is. When he will come back, as long as there is no news of my man's death, they will only dare to play some tricks. Go to a military prison. It's safer over there. Feng Luan smiled and said. Don't go. If we go, we'll lose all the fun. Now we're fighting wits and bravery with those guys. Toad and I are in the same cell. It shouldn't be a problem to persist until Han Qian comes back. I'll take the things, really. Now, besides yours, I dare not take anyone else's things. Let's go. Warmth. Stop smoking. Warmth turned to look at Feng Luan and shouted with red eyes. I don't smoke. I don't smoke. Can you tell me how I can alleviate my longing for my man? How can I control the impulse to find him? How can I support the whole coastal area? Warmth walked out of the prison, and there were many people waiting for her at the entrance. Qing Jin, Lu Guangming, Wei Tiancheng, Tu Xiao, and so on. Warmth stood at the door and took out another cigarette. At this moment, Qing Jin spoke up. Xiao Wan, stop smoking. Warmth ignited the cigarette, and at this moment, Tu Xiao spoke up, sisters, really stop smoking. At this moment, Li Jinhe arrived and pointed at Warmth, speaking angrily. Warm, you put out your cigarette for me. Warmth swept through everyone in front of him with a cigarette in his hand, his eyes turning red, and he screamed angrily. Don't blame me one by one and restrain me. Do you know how many cigarettes Han Qian smokes a day when he is solving your problems? Who can be afraid of my warmth if I don't smoke? Are you happy if I drink unconsciously every day? Which one of you hasn't received Han Qian's protection, from childhood to adulthood? I don't smoke. I want to die now. I want to find a fairy and tell him that I can cut my warm meat one by one, and that I can be divided into 5 horses, just hoping my brother Qian can come back. But who his mother complains about warmth, the fairy, where is my man? Where is my man? Half a year ago, I didn't look for him because I didn't want him. I didn't look for him because I was afraid of being killed by someone. How about you? That's how you repay Han Qian. I tell you, I was warm and not an obedient child since childhood, Cui Li. Cui Li, standing aside, whispered softly. Young lady. Drive there. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Dogs. Canon. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Dogs. Canon. Early in the morning, before dawn outside, Qian had already woken up. The cold tap water washed his face, and the piercing coolness made Qian's brain very clear. After brushing his teeth, he picked up a pen and wrote 2 words on the blackboard. Binhai. And went to the seaside, and Zhou Lu mentioned this place. At this point, there were already 5 words on the blackboard that interested Qian. Amnesia. Car accidents, snake venom, warmth. 4 million. Coastal. Other Qian can understand, but he can't understand the meaning of the word warmth. He can feel that he is very sensitive to these two words. Has someone given me warmth, or is someone's name called warmth? Going downstairs and opening the rolling shutter door, Qian tilted his head and looked at the busy old man at the door. I don't know you. It can be confirmed that they don't know each other. The old man is pushing a unicycle to clean up the construction waste that was cleaned up yesterday. Looking at Qian wearing a military coat, the old man quickly wiped his hands and took out a cigarette to hand to Qian, whispering slightly shyly. Man, I'll clean up this garbage for you, and then. Can you give me these pieces of junk? I'll just need some wood or something to go home and start a fire, and I'll give you the rest for sale. Qian took the cigarette and looked at the construction waste at the entrance. There was a pile of broken wood mixed with some cleaned up wood, paper shells, and some old tables that were even discarded by people. I looked up and down at the old man. In his 60s, he was wearing a tattered cotton jacket and his hands were covered in frostbitten wounds. He glanced at the unicycle again and Qian lit the cigarette with a smile. Hey, you old man trying to bribe me with a cigarette. I have principles. The old man's face immediately turned pale. He heard that there was a young man in this internet cafe who was particularly kind. When the old man was feeling nervous, Qian grinned and said again. 2 pieces, we can't bargain anymore. The old man's eyes lit up and he gave Qian a pack of little pandas that he had gritted his teeth to buy in the morning. 9 yuan. For some young people, it may not be enough money for a lunch, but for an old man, this is half of the day's income. Seeing the old man carefully cleaning up the construction waste at the door, Qian left with a cigarette in his mouth. When he came back again, he took 2 bags of steamed buns and 2 cups of soybean milk in his hands, threw the old man a bag of steamed buns and a cup of soybean milk, and frowned. Let's wait until the sun comes out and do it again. It's still freezing here. No one's fighting with you, come on. Let's drink to each other. The old man held soybean milk and looked at the young man sitting beside him and smiled. Smiling very simply, very cute. After a brief conversation, Qian probably had some understanding of this old man. The old man was not as old as Qian thought. He was only 56 years old this year and had a son with cerebral palsy at home. After his birth, his wife ran away. The old man had not given up for so many years, working, picking up junk, and doing all sorts of things. He was tired from carrying corpses and had developed problems. Now I occasionally do odd jobs and pick up junk to keep me alive. Qian muttered while eating steamed buns. I always feel like I've encountered something similar somewhere before, but I can't remember it anymore. Work hard. People have to move forward to live, especially men. They can't treat themselves like humans, and tying their heads to their waistbands may lead to a better life. The little old man gave Qian a thumbs up. The man is right. Qian's sympathy overflowed, and he always felt that his heart was lost along with amnesia, lacking a lot of sympathy and clarity. When the old man was cleaning up construction waste, Qian left. There were many things in the internet cafe that needed to be customized. Qian took a liking to something called ecological wood and felt that it looked good when pasted on the wall. However, when he asked about the price, Qian went to the wood factory. What is it, 781 square meters? This busy morning, Qian saw many LED screens playing advertisements made by Wu Qingxi, promoting her visit to Chongqing City on January 1st. Qian pinched his fingers. There are still 10 days left. This year is about to pass. After wandering around the city, Qian ultimately chose other materials. The 4 million yuan given by his aunt really cost him a lot. In the afternoon, I rode my 8-handed big beam bicycle back to the internet cafe with 3 steps. As soon as I walked into this street, I saw many people gathered around the entrance of the cafe, and Qian murmured softly. This hasn't opened yet. Is my brain so useful? The onlookers also heard the ear-shaking noise of the bicycle and gave way to the young internet administrator, but as soon as the crowd stepped aside, Qian frowned. The little old man, who was still laughing in the morning, knelt on the ground. He was 1.85 meters tall, wearing a black mink on his upper body. He had a bag under his armpit and was pinching his waist with one hand. The man, who was shouting loudly, was putting his foot on the little old man's arm. Apologize. I want you to apologize his mother and ask about it in Chongqing City. Who can't bark at my cannon? You scare my dog. Don't you know this dog belongs to my cannon? Sorry brother Pao. It's the dog who wants you to apologize, not the dog. I asked you to apologize to the dog. Right or wrong, I'm sorry. Qian stood in place with his head tilted. Dogs. Cannon. Cannon dog. Dog cannon. Qian didn't know what these three words meant, but he felt his hands trembling and his scalp tingling slightly. Looking at the man in front of him, Qian walked forward with a gloomy face and reached out his hand to place it on his shoulder. Pao Gu had just turned around when Qian suddenly punched him in the face, causing Pao Ji's body to tilt. Qian approached Pao Gu again and grabbed the onion on his head, hitting his knee against his lower abdomen. Then, with a hook punch, Pao Gu was stunned. Qian's movements were executed in one go, and he didn't even know why he was so skilled. Pao Gu was stunned by the beating, covering his face and looking at the young man with confusion in his eyes. Qian reached out and picked up the little old man kneeling on the ground, frowning and saying, "What are you kneeling for? What's going on?" "Sir, this. His dog was peeing on our door, so I stomped my foot and he said I scared his dog and demanded that I compensate. Sir, I." After listening to the little old man's words, Qian looked around and didn't see any sign of the dog. Then he pointed at Brother Pao and asked the little old man, "Does he need to pee at the door?" The onlookers couldn't help but laugh and the little old man pointed to the woman behind Brother Pao in her arms. Qian saw a curly-haired teddy. To be honest, Qian doesn't dislike cats and dogs, he quite likes them. But he doesn't like things like teddy or bears. It's too noisy. Qian frowned and asked, "Where's the rope?" The beaten cannon brother frowned as he looked at the young man in front of him. "Do you dare to hit me?" Qian tilted his head to look at Pao Gu, then took off his tattered military coat. He was only wearing a vest with two tendons inside, and the tattoo portrayed by dragon and snake was exposed in the air. The tattoo was not scary, but the two fireworks-like scars on his shoulder were scary. On a day over -20 degrees Celsius, Qian twisted his neck and hooked his hand at Brother Pao. "I don't know why I want to hit you, but I just want to hit you." Under the gaze of his own woman and these people, Pao Ji's self-esteem told him to fight. Pao Gu bent down and picked up a steel bar, then threw it at Qian's head. Qian grinned and lifted his left arm to resist the steel bar. With a muffled sound, Qian seemed to feel no pain in front of everyone's eyes. He watched as the little internet administrator grabbed the newly entered cannon brother with his back hand and brought him closer, punching him in the face one after another. Dog cannon. Dog cannon. These three words are like stimulants constantly stimulating Qian. After swinging 4 punches, his right hand was suddenly grabbed by someone. Qian suddenly turned his head with an endless killing intent in his eyes. The next second, Qian released his strength and stood up in a low voice. "Grandpa Yen." Old Man Yen picked up his clothes and draped them over Qian's body, smiling. "If I kill your friend in a while, I won't be able to handle it." Upon hearing these words, Qian turned his head to look at the city management car parked in the distance, and Zhou Lu had already run over. Zhou Lu squeezed through the crowd, looking at Qian Qian in a military coat, and then at Pao Gu, whose face was covered in blood. Zhou Lu didn't ask the two of them, but asked the onlookers. When he found out that the conflict was caused by walking a dog without holding a leash, Zhou Lu looked coldly at Pao Gu. "Canon, next time I see you walking your dog without leash, I'll take your dog and eat it." The woman next to the cannon pointed at Qian Qian and screamed at Zhou Lu. "What's the point of hitting someone with him?" Zhou Lu pouted and said. "I'm a city management officer, and I'm not a police officer. What's the point of telling me?" The words fell and Zhou Lu pouted at Qian Qian. "No. Hurry up with the decoration, big fart." Qian Qian nodded, and when Zhou Lu had driven everyone away, Pao Gu pointed at Qian Qian and spoke angrily. "Do you dare to tell me your name?" "Qian Qian." Qian Qian returned to the internet cafe, and Zhou Lu dispersed the onlookers and returned to the car. He took out a bag of goji berries from his clasp and dialed a phone with his other hand. "Miss Sun, are you busy? There's something going on. My friend and De Pao got into a conflict over walking their dog without a leash." "Oh, can you speak up, right? Thank you, Miss Sunday. You're just. Ah. Chongqing Hotel. Now. Okay, I'll go right away." Hanging up the phone, Zhou Lu grabbed a handful of goji berries and stuffed them into his mouth, gritting his teeth in a low voice. "Damn it, chubby girls, I'll eat some wolfberries and mix them with you." Zhou Lu has left. Pao Gu went to report to the police, but he was told to go back and wait for news. At first glance, he knew that the other party had found a connection. Leaving the Yamen entrance, Pao Gu gritted his teeth and said. "What was that little brat called just now? Dare to hit me?" The girlfriend beside her frowned and said, holding the dog. "It seems to be called Qian, but at that time many people couldn't hear clearly." Oh, my name is Han Qian." Brother Pao sneered. "Han Qian, right. Wait. Typing, correction, private chat, all good." End of this chapter. Chapter 6. The most mighty river god is the inspiration king. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. The most mighty river god is the inspiration king. When I saw Zhou Lu again, it was dark. This guy was eating peanuts and drinking beer with a runny nose and tears. Qian Qian sat opposite and looked at Zhou Lu from bottom to top, whispering. "Lure. What's wrong with you? Don't cry." Zhou Lu wiped away his tears, choked uncontrollably, and gritted his teeth. "I didn't cry. Smoking smoked my eyes." "Qian Qian, I his mother regard you as my best and best friend. If you don't recognize me one day, I will kill you. Don't look at me specially, drink." Qian Qian's eyes were full of confusion. "What's going on here? Do you have to cry for a while when we meet again after these two separations? So emotional." After drinking until midnight, Zhou Lu fell asleep in Qian Qian's room. While Qian Qian was tidying up the mess, Grandpa Yan arrived and frowned as he looked at Qian Qian, who was tidying up the table. "Why is the anger so strong today? It's unnecessary." Qian Qian grinned and didn't speak, and Yan Lao Er shrugged. "Xiao Qian, you are too cautious. Your aunt won't lie to you, and neither will I. You can ask us about your previous events, and you won't ask or let us talk." Qian Qian found an excuse to worry that he couldn't bear it. Actually, Qian Hong, Yan Quan, and Qian Qian all understand in their hearts. Qian Qian has not let down his guard against the two of them until now. Qian Qian looked at the time. It's 1 o'clock. The temperature on the seaside night is very low, and a petite woman walks unsteadily on the empty street with a baseball bat in her left hand and a bottle of red wine in her right hand. A petite figure, a seductive face, wine-red long hair, and 7-centimeter high heels. The woman looked up and took a sip of wine, then shouted. It was the temptation given by Lang, and I sang a love song. In the sky of hope, you are the most beautiful night. It was Lang's happiness, and I dried my loneliness. Yes. Hashtag at hashtag UN at hashtag dot. The woman sat unsteadily on the roadside, looking left and right in confusion. It's Lang's loneliness. Where is my man? My most powerful general. Then he suddenly knelt on the ground and kowtowed to the river behind him. The most majestic river god is the king of inspiration, and the most effective river god is the king of inspiration. Today, we offer Yan Qingqing to Han Qian for peace and tranquility. May their time be peaceful. As the words fell, Yan Qingqing threw away the stick in her hand and got up, running towards the river with a leap. She was caught again. Yan Qingqing looked up and burst into tears. Dad, I can't live anymore. Without Han Qian, what is Yan Qingqing? Without Han Qian, I can't destroy the world. I can make me disappear from this world, Dad, let me jump down. The Inspiration King said, as long as I die, Han Qian can come back. The old man carried his daughter.in.law on his shoulder, and Yan Qingqing pounded her father.in.law's back, choking in a low voice. Dad, you also hope Han Qian will come back, right? Really? Dad. I really don't lie to you, as long as I die, Han Qian will come back. Dad, I beg you, okay. Don't let me suffer again. I don't have the warmth and strength, I don't have Ji Jing's faith. Jia Yi is by Lu Xingge's side, I can rest assured. I beg you, let me die, okay. I beg you. Yan Qingqing splashed and begged without her father.in.law's permission. She was crying, convulsing and falling asleep. This is not the first time Yan Qingqing has been short-sighted. During Han Qian's disappearance, Yan Qingqing cut her wrist twice. Now she can't live on her own and has had a car accident. Fortunately, it's a raptor, preferably a raptor. The wire rod broke, she was only slightly injured. Everyone thinks that Yan Qingqing is the strongest one and the one who can return to the right track the most. Everyone thinks that warmth will be the most fragile one. The result is reversed. Yan Qingqing doesn't care about anything and doesn't want anything. She will use her own life to exchange for Han Qianping, not even asking him to come back. The old man carried his daughter.in.law and whispered softly. Qingqing. Han Qian will come back. Unfortunately, Yan Qingqing has already fallen asleep, and warmth has started smoking. Yan Qingqing still drinks excessively. Anesthetize the nerves, but only two. Putting his daughter.in.law into the car, the old man replaced it with a Volvo X90. It can be said that most of the family now use this car. Putting his daughter.in.law in the back seat, the old man silently sighed and started the car to go home. On the road Yan Qingqing walked, Su Hongchang leaned against the car door with a cigarette in his mouth, and in his right hand, he held a pistol with a silencer, watching the chaos not far away. Chui Li followed warmth, Su Hongchang followed Yan Qingqing. Not long after, the little brother came back wiping his sweat. Mr. Su, how should we handle it? Su Hongchang made a phone call and soon a sprinkler truck arrived. Su Hongchang put away his gun and walked forward, pulling down a water pipe and opening the water gate at the person lying on the road. The temperature is -20 degrees Celsius, and these people are crying and calling their mothers in the cold. Enough venting, Su Hongchang waved his hand at the younger brothers. Tie it up and hang it on a tree. Call the people of the city bureau and ask them to deal with the aftermath. It's not good for them to freeze to death, and it's not good for them to freeze to death. This is my mother has no intention to take care of you recently, or you will all send his mother to the capital to Yanran's old sister Lihi. Su Hongchang left with the people, and soon the people from the city bureau arrived. Zheng Jing sighed as he looked at the frozen guys on the ground and waved at the people accompanying him. Just throw it in. Later, Jing Jing called Su Hongchang and said in a deep voice. Mr. Su, are you going to play people to death? Su Hongchang, sitting in the back seat, sneered. Master Su. His mother Su Hongchang dares to claim that my whole family was hit by a car and killed. I am his mother dog. My master is not here, and I have no rope on my neck. If anyone touches my mother, I will bite him. Su Hongchang hung up the phone, then dialed a number and the call was answered. The other person respectfully said. Mr. Su. Su Hongchang lit a cigarette and said indifferently. I've got some information. My lord's affairs have something to do with Yang Yidi of Fushan, right? Tell her not to let any of her relatives leave Fushan. They should be kept his mother away. Jing Jing, who returned to the city bureau, felt a headache and took out his phone to call Tu Xiao. The person has been sent to your person's prison area, don't play to death. Damn it, when will Han Qian be able to come back? Tu Xiao from the 8th district stood in the office without speaking, hung up the phone, and shouted outside the door. A few people come and randomly find a car to smash, go in and squat for a few days. Damn it, you're either playing with women or playing with women, go in and play with men for me. Yes. The sound outside the door was loud and resounding. It's already 3 o'clock in the morning. No one is willing to fall asleep on the shore covered in dark clouds. Home. Warmth looked at Yan Qingqing, who was completely drunk, with cold eyes. Then he took out a cigarette and lit it. The old man looked at his smoking daughter. In law and couldn't help but sigh. Just then, a fair little hand snatched the cigarette from Warmth's hand and gently patted his smooth face. Just scare the people outside. Warmth turned his head to look at the woman with a smiling face and said coldly. Do you have any objections? The woman smiled and took out a tea cigarette from her warm pocket, squeezed it into a ball and threw it into the trash can, lying lazily on the sofa. I have no objection, I just don't want my husband to urge you to quit smoking. You all worry about my husband, but I'm not worried. Do you know why? Warm. Mr. Wen. Warm little grandma. Get lost. Because he is my husband. Warm and cold voice. Are your days easy? It's not easy. I've been demoted 3 levels in a row, it's a big deal. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. An old friend. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. An old friend. Time always passes quickly, and Qian Qian clenched his chin and looked at the 3 words, dog cannon, on the blackboard, lost in thought. Perhaps this is an important point in retrieving memories. But there is no information in my mind that can be extended. For his aunt and Mr. Yan, Qian Qian treated them as family and also as the closest person he had ever been to, but he never asked them for any news about him. Firstly, even if you know, if you can't remember now, nothing can change. Secondly, Qian Qian does not want to learn about himself from others, as he is worried that he may change his original appearance. Thirdly, even though there are mysteries in myself, I can feel that my aunt is not an ordinary person. I have been beaten by my aunt, and her hands are not as smooth as her face. His mother. Did Warmth hit me? Then he found the Go cannon and injected me with snake venom. Maybe not. Warmth sounds good. My phone is ringing, old Nokia. It's Zhou Lu. I heard Zhou Lu shouting over there when I answered the phone. What are you still dawdling on? Dude, I'm risking my life to give you a chance to exchange. Hurry up and report, the concert over there is about to start. Oh. Please reply to me again next time, I accidentally smashed your phone. Zhou Lu seemed to be in a hurry, and Qian Qian hesitated to leave. Riding a bicycle, once it starts walking, feels like a thundering bicycle racing on the road with an electric engine. When a Mercedes-Benz with a speed of 30 is overtaken by this bicycle, the driver suddenly gets a little annoyed. Why is it that you are such a useless thing that is even more impressive than my car, which costs around 100 or 10,000 yuan? But I have to admit, this guy's stamina is really good. Mercedes-Benz began to accelerate, parallel to the bicycle, and the car window fell down. A man about the same age as Qian shouted. "Hey buddy, where did you change your bike? It's handsome." Qian shook his head gracefully and then rode his bike into the path. "Today is still a cold day. The main reason is that it's too cold to open your mouth. Shuttling through alleys doesn't require slowing down or ringing a bell at all. As long as you're not deaf, you'll make way for this road. After all, the noise is too loud." After riding for half an hour, when Qian got off the car, he felt his mouth almost freezing. Looking at the city management car parked at the door, Qian was about to speak when Zhou Lu had already opened the door and handed him a set of security clothes. "Go in, change to the closest position to the stage. Take this and drink it to warm your body. Work hard. What would happen if we see Wu Qingxi?" Looking at the thermos and security suit in his hand, Qian nodded forcefully. "Please wash your feet when I'm done. Go, go, go." Zhou Lu really has no intention of playing with Qian. He just feels happy playing with Qian and feels that Qian is not malicious and innocent. At this age, making friends is all about this. Qian changed clothes while walking, put on a mask, and ran into the scene. Due to weather conditions, the organizers chose the performance venue indoors. Qian, wearing short sleeves, stood in front of the stage, with his back to the stage, watching the empty and crowded concert. The enthusiastic fans in the front row watched as the late security guard chuckled and gathered together to point and point. I've heard of celebrities being late, but the security guard at the scene was the first one to be late. Right, look at the tattoo on his arm, it's so handsome. Oh, there are scars on his eyes. I feel like he must be a particularly experienced security guard. It makes sense, take a photo secretly. TSK, you can go get me a contact information later. When did you fall in love with men? My buddy has always liked men, otherwise why do I play with your girls every day? I just miss your boyfriend, right? Fortunately, this conversation was not heard by Qian, otherwise he was very likely to have a hand with this 200-pound guy. Men like men. That won't work. Suddenly, music played behind Qian, fireworks spewed out from behind, and the lights in the venue instantly went out. "Let me show you a big trick." A shout. In the next second, more than 10 spotlights shone on the center of the stage, and a fake diamond shone on a black suit evening gown. A handsome and unattractive man appeared, with a cigar in his left hand and champagne in his right hand. Her silver hair swayed to the rhythm of the music. The exaggerated way of appearing instantly ignited the enthusiasm of the fans on site. How dare an artist come out with a cigar in his mouth during a concert? I want to put myself in the refrigerator for a day without anyone stopping me. I'll help you feel cool 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times. Right now. Wei Jiu is going to give all the fans of Chongqing a big trick. Fireworks erupted again, and the music suddenly transformed into a DJ. Make every 10 times Oppo Reno crazy for you, 10 times cola and music make you happy, 10 times waves make you wave, 10 times air conditioning makes you cool. Wei Jiu suddenly jumped off the stage, reached out and hugged Qian's shoulder, pulling him along with the swaying frenzy of the music. For the first time in such close contact with a celebrity, Qian felt a little nervous, while Wei Jiu was very excited and took a serious look at Qian's tattoo and the scar on his eyebrows. Shouting with the microphone in hand. 10 times the size of ice cubes, go crazy, babies. Wei Jiu hasn't participated in any performances in 7 years. Forgive me for not being able to bear the loneliness in my heart, I am Wei Jiu who loves you the most. Wei Jiu's appearance surprised everyone, and the poster only advertised Wu Qingxi. As Wei Jiu released her inner pressure, a crisp female voice shouted. Then let me give you a second big move. Evergreen babies. Gu Yen, Gu Yen. Wei Jiu, Wei Jiu. Gu Yen, Gu Yen. Wei Jiu, Wei Jiu. Surprisingly, a retired top performer and a popular female artist parachuted into Chongqing to support Wu Qingxi. Everyone watched the TV drama in which the three of them appeared. Wei Jiu patted Qian Qian's shoulder. Tattoos are really cool, but unfortunately, an old friend of mine really dislikes them. Wei Jiu has left, Qian Qian whispered. Thank you. Unfortunately, the sound of the music was too loud for Wei Jiu to hear. The warmed-up atmosphere was almost over, and Wu Qingxi appeared in front of thousands of attention. Compared to the fanaticism of Wei Jiu and Gu Yan, Wu Qingxi was warm and gentle, like a blooming lily, dressed in a black deep V-shaped long dress, and the music became soothing. I like to see you frown tightly and call me a coward. Your expression is more than a friend's ambiguity, lonely title, sweet blame. It has a unique and exclusive special, I like you frown tightly and call me. Clang. The sound of the microphone landing on the carpet stunned all fans. How could this celebrity with years of concert experience make such a basic mistake? But Wu Qingxi seemed to have no difference, her gaze fixed on the figure standing in front of the stage, her body uncontrollably moving towards it. At that moment, Gu Yan suddenly began to sing, as if Wu Qingxi had not heard the sound in her ears. Green silk. Wei Jiu grabbed Wu Qingxi, who finally regained consciousness, and took the microphone handed over by Wei Jiu. When she spoke again, her voice became trembling. Hi, I'm glad to see you tightly. Call me. Call me. Little carrot shreds. The figure in front of her showed no response, and Wu Qingxi stepped forward again. Han. No. He doesn't have a tattoo, he won't accept it. Wu Qingxi knows her old friend too well and her best friend's husband too well. He is conservative, old-fashioned, and doesn't accept new things, so she won't come for a tattoo. The sound of an N can be heard in the ear. What's wrong? Qingxi, what's wrong with you? Are you feeling unwell? Wu Qingxi took a deep breath, shook her head towards the camera, then turned around to adjust her state and sweetly shouted to the fans. Hello, I am the most, and cutest Wu Qingxi, but her gaze did not leave this silhouette. Even if he turns back, even if his body trembles, even if, unfortunately. This silhouette is like a statue, motionless. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. The Separation of One Street. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 8. The Separation of One Street. During the 4 hours of activity, Wu Qingxi's gaze never left this man, but unfortunately she never saw his face and the photographer did not take pictures of him. The event was over, and the fans dispersed with their hearts full. When Wu Qingxi changed clothes and rushed from the backstage, the security guard had already disappeared. Feeling lost, she returned to the backstage and pushed open the door to the dressing room. Wu Qingxi sat weakly in a chair, while Wei Jiu, who was half lying on the side, stared at the ceiling in a daze. Anan stood with her arms in her arms and frowned on the side. Qingxi. Based on your experience, you wouldn't make such a mistake, would you? Wu Qingxi turned her head to look at Anan and spoke with a sorrowful expression. I think I saw Han Qian. Bang. Wei Jiu fell off the chair, ignoring the hot coffee spilled on him, and stood up to shout. Where is it? When did it happen? Have you talked yet? How is he? Speak up. Wu Qingxi, speak up. Where is my brother? Is he okay? Where are people? Where are people? Wei Jiu was anxious like an ant on a hot pot, and An's hand holding coffee kept trembling. Half a year. It has been 6 months since they disappeared, and there has been no news of them. Anan wants to go listen, but she is afraid of disappointment and dare not tell the people at the seaside, afraid that their hopes will once again be in vain. Wu Qingxi suddenly laughed self-deprecatingly and looked at Anan with a smile. Anan, do you think Han Qian can get tattoos? Anan shook her head. No way. He seems to be very averse to tattoos and also reminds me not to have tattoos, and even his artists are not allowed to have tattoos. Wu Qingxi, tell me the key point, and I'll call Zhao Hanqing. No, where is the person? Where is the person? Wu Qingxi ignored Wei Jiu, who looked like a mad dog, and sat in a chair, whispering. It's the security guard standing closest to us, it's like. It's really like, it's so much like, I didn't see him in the face. But Han Qian and I have fallen many times. But I firmly believe it's impossible. This security guard has a tattoo on his right arm, from his wrist to his ear. I once approached him and even if his body trembled, I would firmly believe it was him, but. Speaking of which, Wu Qingxi's tears came down. May I ask which person around Han Qian doesn't feel sorry for him? Wei Jiu stood in place and then sat weakly on the ground, when Anan spoke up. I want to watch the surveillance footage. The voice trembled. But the result is similar to what Wu Qingxi said, but they don't believe Han Qian can get a tattoo. Not long after, the organizer of the program arrived, and the supervisor also followed. After checking the list of all security guards, no one surnamed Qian was found, and there was no one over 30 years old. Anan left the list as if she had lost her soul. Wu Qingxi's tears crackled down as Anan spoke up. Don't tell the people at Bin Hai that they can't bear the blow again. Anan left the venue and returned to the hotel. In the moment she entered the room, she felt her strength drained and sat weakly on the ground with her back against the door, looking up and crying loudly. When can my sun once again shine on me in the sky? I am Anan. I have grown up. I am not Anan who sought your protection back then. I can take care of you, I can give up everything I have to take care of you. Even if I look at you from afar. The voice gradually became weak, and in the end, Anan, who held her head high, couldn't cry. Before, Han Qian was in the seaside, and she was in the capital. We only meet 3 or 5 times a year, and Anan always receives calls from Han Qian. Come to Bin Hai, I miss you. I miss you too much, but I've been so busy lately. What should you do if you become a mother after being so busy? After the age of 30, you will be an elderly mother, my husband is the best. I'll go see you after I finish these things, okay? A month later, the phone called again. Why haven't you come yet? I've been bullied by them so badly lately. Come and let me bully you. Husband, be good and go after you finish your work. At that time, Anan always felt that traveling from the capital to the seaside was troublesome and time-consuming. The two had not seen each other for a year, and Han Qian would always call her to tell her not to be too tired or busy. When she had time, she would come back home. When she was bullied, she would say, even if it was Prince Yan, I would hammer him. At that time, Anan felt that Han Qian was like a motherly old man. Until Han Qian disappeared, until the familiar number on his back became unreachable, until his beloved man disappeared, Anan realized how foolish, despicable, and infuriating his past was. Because she couldn't hear his nagging or the gentle voice calling her peace. Silent, convulsive, limping. Anan feels like he has made a mistake that he can't make up for in his lifetime. If I could have been with him more at that time, and if I could have been by his side at that time, would it be me who has lost his memory now? It should be me, it must be me. I am not willing to let my man go missing. Anan raised her hand and pulled it onto her face, repeatedly, her side face red and swollen, tears streaming down her face, crying until she couldn't make a sound. At this moment, Wei Jiu was driving rapidly on the road in Chongqing City, carefully watching the passers-by on the road with the car window open. No. No. None of them are. Qian had already returned home, took off his clothes and lay in bed. Just as he was about to rest, the door was pushed open. Zhou Lu rushed into the room to ask questions, and in the end, this guy had only one purpose. Go take a shower. Qian lay powerless in bed and said. I don't want to move, I'm so tired. Zhou Lu stepped forward and opened the blanket, grabbed the military coat and draped it over Qian Qian's body. He picked up his friend and opened the door, laughing as he walked. I know you're tired. Take a shower, steam for a while, find a little girl to touch and feel, eat the late-night snack, and sleep comfortably in the bathhouse for a night. Brother, today's salary is paid. Consumption is the responsibility. Everything tonight will be covered by Mr. Zhou. Pick up people at the door and carry them on your back when going out. Full package ticket arrangement. After taking a shower and sweating, take a bath and have a buffet, then go upstairs to find a technician to pinch your feet, pound your back, and relieve the fatigue of the day. Qian Qian lay on the bed enjoying a massage, whispering. Thank you. When I have money, I will treat you too. Zhou Lu pouted on the side and said. It's all barren, buddy. Qian Qian suddenly had a daze in his eyes. Across from the Shuidiaguita bathing center where they are located is the most luxurious hotel in Chongqing. An inn is lying on the floor of the rooftop suite. Across a street. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. 1 second you are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 1 second Chapter 9 When he woke up, it was already 8 o'clock. Zhou Lu left a note telling Qian Qian not to feel embarrassed, to eat and drink enough before leaving, and not to pretend if his waist was injured. They were all brothers, and it was obvious. He has already settled the account and saved some extra. Kajiner flour. Perhaps too busy, Qian Qian didn't expect to sleep for so long. Sitting on the small bed, he looked around in confusion and then scratched his head. For a moment, Qian Qian realized that he didn't seem to have anything else to do. The aversion to decoration has been confirmed, and the workers also started laying bricks yesterday. You can't just stare at the workers with big eyes. While Qian Qian was sitting in a daze on the second floor, in the office on the top floor of Honor Home, Wei Jiu sat exhausted on the sofa, rubbing his head with both hands and his eyes covered in red blood. He spent the whole night searching in Chongqing City last night. There was no sound at all. Wearing a down jacket, Wu Qingxi leaned against the door with a cup of coffee. She also had insomnia last night, rubbing her eyes and sighing. We're both fine, I don't know how Anan is doing. She called just now and her voice was hoarse and weak. Harm, she was probably in the same state as Qinghu in the first few days. You didn't have any news at all. Wei Jiu shook her head. No. I recalled a whole night last night. If the silhouette you saw was Qian'er, I should have hugged his shoulder while singing. You said Qian'er rejected tattoos, do you remember any scars on Qian'er's face? Wu Qingxi shook her head. No. I remember this very clearly. Qinghu often nagged, saying that Han Qian's face was smooth, and his body was like a map, crisscrossing. Perhaps he was really mistaken. Wei Jiu rubbed her temples and sighed. Anyway, I can't fly these past 2 days. You're in a hurry, both you and an Anfei demon. I'll stay and search. When Qian'er had an accident, I was hardly there. I've missed so many times. Forget it. I'll find a place to take a shower and rest. You guys fly first. I'm calling Anan, be careful. If you're caught by fans, you're running out of time. Oh. There's a nice bathing center across from Anan's hotel. It doesn't matter. Bring your assistant. Otherwise, if something happens and we can't find you, why are you all like Han Qian one by one? Wei Jiu ran down the stairs and had been with Han Qian for a long time. He had become obsessed with cleanliness. Go downstairs and drive straight to the largest bathing center in Chongqing. After taking a shower, Qian Qian put on his tattered military coat and went downstairs. He handed in his hand, put on his shoes, and turned around to leave. As soon as he walked out of the door, he found it snowing again. Qian Qian reached out and picked up a snowflake. Ice cold. Then his gaze was drawn to a silhouette across the street. The loose windbreaker failed to conceal the woman's tall figure. Qian carefully examined the woman and found that the windbreaker, which was supposed to be knee-high, could not even exceed her knees. The woman's height is estimated to be around 1.7 meters, but these legs are really long. Unfortunately, it's not summer. Wearing black silk on these legs must be perfect. Qian is simply appreciating beautiful things. He likes perfect people, perfect things. Or it can be said that everyone likes perfect things. Anan, who was facing away from Changqing's biggest bath, held her phone and listened to Wu Qingxi's chatter over there. Wei Jiao said he won't leave and wants to stay and see again. What does the demon city say? Let's fly today. An's eyes were red and swollen, and her voice was hoarse. How much hope do you feel? Wu Qingxi whispered. I feel very small. Wei Jiao said she was hugging this person's shoulder, and this person's eye sockets have scars. I remember Han Qian's face doesn't have scars, right? Anan gave up completely, whispered. There are no scars, he said. It's a shame to have scars on his face, and Tu Xiao grumbled several times about it. Anan gave up, but she didn't know that the man she loved, the man she was searching for, and the man who often talked on the phone were standing behind her, as long as An turned around. As long as An can turn back. Alright, I'll drive over and find you now. Hanging up the phone, An put away his phone and was about to turn around. Just then, an urgent voice came from behind Qian. Qian turned his head and looked at the waiter who was chasing him, tilting his head in confusion. The waiter grabbed the cash and ran down the stairs panting, laughing. Sir, you're really serious. Why don't you just check the bill and leave? Your friend is worried that you may have some expenses during the day, so he deliberately saved an extra 500 yuan. This is the change for you, please keep it. Qian awkwardly scratched his head and took Qian, whispering in a low voice. I thought it was expensive here, it's my first time coming. Anan only glanced faintly at the two people across the street, then opened the door and got into the car, flying away. Qian received the money, but the waiter dressed very little. He said it was very cold and then went back. When Qian turned his head again, the perfect figure disappeared, and Qian felt slightly disappointed. If you can't see the other side of this perfect thing, comfort yourself in case you're disappointed. Anan in the car drove quietly and murmured. Why do you always imitate my men's outfits? You don't have that temperament. Even if the waiter came out a second late, and even if An's indifference and coldness toward strangers were put aside for a minute, perhaps everything wouldn't be like this now. But if there is no indifference and coldness, is it still An? An's coldness and indifference only disappeared in front of Han Qian, and others were not worthy in her eyes. Not compatible. A terrifying second, a despicable second, the most despicable second. 1 second may be just a blink for many people, but it may be the time to blink, and the person who once loved you has already disappeared. Qian looked up at the sky. Walk back or take the bus back. Walk back. As a result, after just 2 steps, Qian returned quietly. Take the bus back. After taking 2 more steps, Qian looked at the sky again. That's it. I'm having difficulty choosing. If I get hungry later, I'll also have irritability. At this point, Qian had already started to get restless, and he was already a bit hungry. Just as he was struggling in place, the distant street suddenly heard screams and hurried footsteps. Qian turned his head and saw that this section of the road was already congested with people, and the girls held up their signs and shouted wildly. Qian sighed and murmured in a low voice, really envious. When will he be able to be noticed by the public when he goes out? Before he could turn around, a sudden pain came from his lower back, which was already slippery in winter. Coupled with the weakness of his body after taking a bath, Qian couldn't stand firm and lay in the snow, with a wheezing sound coming from his head. Stinky man, don't get in the way. Ah! Wei Jiu, the little fairy is here. From her voice, it can be inferred that this woman must weigh 180 pounds. Qian Gang is about to look up to find the murderer. A gentleman seeks revenge for 10 years. Get lost. I am an indignant youth. Just as his head was lifted up, a sudden pain came from the back of his head. I don't know which person with no long eyes stepped on Qian's head, and Qian's face hit the ground heavily, leaving a blank space. Ah! Wei Jiu. Wei Jiu, let's have a movie together. I love you the most. I have commented on all of your Weibo posts. Wei Jiu, I want to marry you. Wei Jiu didn't expect that just taking a shower would make her look like this. She gritted her head and smiled as she signed a group photo for her fans. Just when Wei Jiu was also feeling a bit annoyed, her assistant approached and spoke in a low voice. There seems to have been a stampede incident earlier. Although you don't have a company now, if this incident were to spread, it would have a significant impact on Miss Qingxi. Pay attention to the image. Wei Jiu immediately frowned and glanced left and right. Her gaze fell on the man lying in the snow under the steps of the bathing center. The man's back was still covered in snow, which was clearly trampled on. Wei Jiu pushed away and ran along, squatting next to Qian. She reached out her hand to support Qian's arm and whispered in a low voice. Are you okay? Qian frowned and gritted his teeth. It's okay, but the person who stepped on me is in trouble. Upon hearing this sound and looking at the slowly lifted face, Wei Jiu sat on the ground with a dull gaze, then punched Qian in the face. The man in his 30s cried like a child and came forward to hug Qian. You make it easy for me to find it, his mother. Qian's eyes were confused, and he was even more confused when being held in the arms of this big star. He asked with confusion. Who are you? What are you asking me for? Wei Jiu didn't say anything, then suddenly took off his clothes and covered Qian's head. The next second, the shutter kept ringing. Chapter check. In and chapter review. Duan Ping, recommended vote, end of this chapter. Chapter 10. Shrimp, Dumplings, Vinegar. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Shrimp, Dumplings, Vinegar. Wei Jiu knew some things from the beginning, and his first reaction was to protect Han Qian. There are family members looking for him, as well as enemies looking for him. Wei Jiu did something to tarnish his reputation. He had to suppress the matter of finding Han Qian and handed him over to his assistant. He threw 200,000 yuan into the entire bathing center for one night a day, while telling all fans that they could go in and spend money, counting him as Wei Jiu. The assistant also looked confused. After going upstairs, Wei Jiu tightly held on to Qian's arm and told the assistant to check everyone's phones. As long as they were willing to hand over their phones and open the album, they could all get a group photo of Wei Jiu and a small gift given by hand. If anyone refuses, smash your phone. The elegant room on the 3rd floor. Wei Jiu sat on the tatami mat with his back against the door. He deliberately chose this windowless room and looked at Qian as he spoke. If you want to run, kill me first. Qian tilted his head and looked at Wei Jiu, wondering. In turn, may I ask if we know each other? Wei Jiu hugged her and sneered. I know, you owe me over 10,000 billion. Are we playing mahjong with Prince Yen? Are you sure you haven't found the wrong person? Upon hearing these words, Wei Jiu became even more convinced that she had not found the wrong person and pouted at Qian. I took off my clothes. Qian's face instantly became serious, and his eyes became cold. Looking at these familiar eyes, Wei Jiu raised his hands and said with a bitter smile. I know you hate homosexuality the most, don't worry. I'm not. Do you have 2 gunshot wounds on your shoulder? Qian frowned and said. Did you play? Oh, I know there's a warmth, did he play? Wei Jiu squinted at Han Qian and pouted. I also know you have a long scar on your back. Qian Qian frowned and asked. Warmth cut. You still have a scar on the gunshot wound on your left shoulder, right? Warmth shot me and then stabbed me with a knife. Wei Jiu closed her eyes and took a deep breath, then roared angrily. Warm, warm, warm. You have lost your memory. How come your brain is still full of warmth? Did you leave the wound on your eye socket half a year ago? Did your tattoo last half a year? Qian Qian sat on the ground, muttering weakly with his head down. I don't know, when I woke up, this tattoo was already on my body. I'm sorry. Wei Jiu gritted his teeth and said. Can you stop his mother apologizing suddenly? Qian Qian shook his head. I have a brain problem, the doctor said I was injected with snake venom. Maybe we were good friends before, but I don't remember you. I'm sorry, really, really. Really sorry, I didn't mean to forget you, my brain really can't remember people. I don't remember many things, I don't remember my parents, I don't remember my friends. Qian Qian choked up and grabbed his hair with both hands, blaming himself. The man's tears couldn't hold at this moment. Perhaps life is like this. You have been strong for a lifetime, and you are strong in front of everyone. However, when it comes to understanding your vulnerability and cherishing yourself in front of others, you are fragile, perhaps not as strong as snowflakes that fall into your hands. Wei Jiu looked at Han Qian with a mournful expression, his eyes slightly red. I don't blame you. No one will blame you, and no one dares to blame you. You have done something that 90% of people in the world can't do in their lifetime, even in the last second of your life when you encounter danger, you are still protecting the people around you. The scars on your body represent everything. Han Qian. I don't ask how you survived, I don't ask how you came to Chongqing, I just want to ask, are you doing well? Qian Qian looked up at Wei Jiu, feeling confused. He shook his head and nodded. I don't know if I'm doing well or not. I don't remember anything. Wei Jiu handed Han Qian a cigarette and smiled. Just live, it's good. Our brothers don't care about these things, just live. Are you hungry? Hungry. What do you want to eat? Dumplings. Wei Jiu looked at Han Qian in front of her and smiled. You're still you, nothing has changed. In winter, it's still this tattered coat. What I like to eat is still dumplings, and what I remember is warmth. After finishing speaking, he opened the door and shouted to his assistant. Eat dumplings. Find someone to wrap them for me. Today everyone here is eating dumplings, pork and celery. Chives and eggs, don't put shrimp on it. Want some vinegar? Buy vinegar. Closing the door again, Wei Jiu leaned forward and hugged Han Qian's shoulder. Qianer, do you know any girls in Chongqing City? Are you pretty? Are your legs long? Han Qian reached out his hand and pushed Wei Jiu away, whispering. I'm still a bit uncomfortable. Wei Jiu smiled and said. It's okay, I'll get used to it slowly. The dumplings were quickly delivered, with 1 plate of dumplings and 2 bowls of vinegar for the two. Watching Han Qian rolling the dumplings in the vinegar bowl, taking half a bite, Wei Jiu was really happy. He had no idea, just wanted to laugh, just wanted to see Han Qian eat the dumplings. A plate of dumplings was quickly eaten, and Han Qian lay on the tatami smoking a cigarette, whispering. Don't block the door, I won't leave. I believe you are my friend, you know me, you know I get jealous when eating dumplings, you know I don't eat seafood, you know the wounds on my body. But my memory of you is almost non-existent. Although this sentence is hurtful, I don't want to deceive you. I don't know how many people care about me, I don't know how many people around me, and I don't know what I experienced in the beginning. Perhaps I was very strong, otherwise I wouldn't have been shot. Wei Jiu nodded earnestly. Extremely powerful. Prince Binhai. Han Qian nodded. But now I can't go back to the coastal area in your mouth, nor can I become a prince. I'm missing, and no one will know what my state is. Whether I deliberately run away will be tested by them or anything is possible. If I'm strong, I'm alive, and there's no news of my death, the remaining power is still there. Some people want to take action and think about what their fate would be if I appeared in the coastal area again. But when I go back in this state, I'll be fine for a day or two, and I can persist for 3 or 5 days. What about 6 months? A year? There's no impermeable wall, and once I know I've become a fool, all the deterrents will become their motivation, because I'm not what I used to be. It's not scary if I can't get it, it's just a joke if I can't hold on. Wei Jiu nodded earnestly. You're right, have you seen Anan? She's staying at the hotel across from you. Han Qian shook his head gently. I don't know who Anan is, I really don't remember, just like the warmth in your mouth, I just know there is this person, male or female, always missing, I don't even remember. Wei Jiu. I'm here. No, isn't it? It's not something. But it's me. Han Qian looked at Wei Jiu and took a deep breath. Please grant me a request not to tell anyone that you have met me, no matter who it is. I now have an aunt by my side, and I don't know what her purpose is for me, but I can feel that she won't harm me. She has always wanted to tell me everything about the past, but I refused. Some memories have been lost, you told me. I may have assumed that this happened before, and I don't want to live in such a muddled way. Wei Jiu nodded. I understand, I didn't say anything. I understand you like a fly understands feces. If you weren't proud, you wouldn't have become what you are today. But I won't change it. Even if I lose my memory and become a fool, I will still be Han Qian in your mouth. Give me some time, not too long. 1 year. Give me 1 year, okay. I'll stay with you. Wei Jiu made another request, but it was still rejected by Han Qian. No way. With you by my side, I can't help but ask you. Because everything you did just now makes me believe in you, I won't doubt you, I won't leave Chongqing. I mean, I won't leave here until I regain my memory. If you can't hide it, tell the people you want to know that I'm alive and doing well, and I'm trying to find a way to go back. But if you can, don't say it. I've been curious about my injuries all over, and if I move a gun, it's not a small matter. Knowing my whereabouts may be safer for you. At this moment, you are still worried about us. Have you really lost your memory? On the plane flying to the Magic City, Wei Jiu sat in a chair and kept laughing. Despite trying to hold back a few times, she couldn't contain her inner joy and laughed heartily with her head tilted back. His mother. His mother. Ha 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 ha. Wu Qingxi frowned and looked at Wei Jiu, who was going crazy. Didn't you say to stay in Chongqing? What do you want? Ha 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 ha, I'm so fucking happy. Go to the Devil City, go to the Devil City. I can't, my blood is boiling now. Wu Qingxi looked at Wei Jiu with a disdainful expression on her face, then turned her head to look at Anan and frowned. Anan, can you see if he's going crazy? Anan closed her eyes and leaned against the chair, with the corners of her mouth slightly raised. Wu Qingxi was stunned when she saw this scene. I have been with an Anzi for half a year now, and she has never smiled, not even the most basic smile. Did she smile? Anan smiled. Wu Qingxi is watching Wei Jiu laughing. You two have something to hide from me. Wei Jiu is still smiling. Puzzy. Anan couldn't control her emotions. She laughed out loud. After Wei Jiu returned, she didn't say anything, not a word, but Anan guessed that the anxiety and worry on Wei Jiu's body had disappeared. Who can make Wei Jiu happy like this? Ha 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 ha. Hee hee, hee hee, hee hee, hee 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 hee. Wei Jiu smiled boldly, while Anan smiled foolishly. Wu Qingxi's face was full of confusion. What happened? At the entrance of the internet cafe, a man looked up at the planes flying in the sky and smiled. Comment, let me know how many people are reading. End of this chapter.